Feels like my 42 interviews in 42 days almost. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We are joined today by a comic creator, a member of an awesome band, as well as going back to school like myself. So it's like we almost have one out of three things in common. But we're joined today by a comic creator that I've known her work for a number of years, but I've never met her in person. This is the first time for me, so I'm really happy and pleased to present Blair from Starcross'd, which is Starcross'd without an E.net. How are you doing today, Blair?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. I'm awake for now, and we'll go from there.
Indeed, likewise.
It's interesting because when did Starcross'd get started? I have to think back a little bit. It's been a while.
In technically in the fall of 2003 is when it actually premiered online.
Okay.
Quite a long time ago.
That is a long time ago. That's 10, 11 years working on a comic that's had, well, it's had multiple hiatuses, multiple reboots, multiple characters, which have all been rather interesting.
Life explosions, all sorts of everything that can happen in a decade. It's had that. Houses on fire, cars on fire,
the usual stuff. It is.
Indeed.
But when it comes to this particular journey, at least in terms of the comic aspect, what has kept you sane all these years?
Well, not much. I can't actually say that I've been sane over the last 10 years. I definitely believe I've gotten a lot saner, and I would attribute that to age and just the collective calm I've learned to appreciate. But being able to spread out and do other things, and and granted, it had the last hiatus it had was because of a hard drive crash, which was horrible and traumatizing. Mm-hmm. Being able to step away for a minute and go and do music and go back to school and do other things really, I think, gave me a lot of perspective on it, and I've come back to it with a better love and a better joy for making comics again. So I attribute my sanity actually to what made me insane in the first place. But, yeah, it's interesting how that works.
Yeah, you never know if you're truly sane until you sort of lose it for the first time, especially with a hard drive crash. I've had that happen. It's not a good experience.
Yeah, that'll teach you to ever trust any piece of hardware ever again. I'm like, oh, this computer's brand new. I can totally just. I don't have to back up. I'll back up in a year. No. Yeah, no. Now I have a giant network server and the 3 backups, and I will never lose the comic again.
Redundancy is a wonderful thing. What is it about this particular comic, especially in the past decade? A lot has changed with it, not only your art style, but with everything along that line. How have you how have you improved yourself, I should say, with all of the distractions that life throws at you?
It was one of the first stories that I ever wrote, and so it's always been one of those things that's always been really close to my heart and has always been with me since I guess I kind of started conceptualizing the characters when I was like 14 years old, so back in the 1800s when that was. But I've always tried to at least, well, not early on, but in recent years, I've just always been trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what kind of style do I want to work with now? And I'm not going to limit myself by saying, oh, well, Starcross'd Destiny is an anime, manga style comic, so I'm just going to continue this style until we all die. If that would have happened, I would have never found the coloring, the version of coloring that I have now, and the line. I would still be doing lines with brush pens with my super shaky hands, and I wouldn't be doing them in vector. So just, always trying to find a different way to approach something so it's easier and then also inspiring for me, because if I was still doing cel-shaded two-tone comics, I would probably be so bored out of my mind that I would have killed my own hard drive. But, yeah, just keeping it different and new every time. So I love scene changes. I love coloring so much because you get to remake the palette every time. Then I'm always tempted to marry that palette, and then I contemplate polygamy, and my husband gets very upset. But yeah, it's always allowing yourself to grow.
Hmm. I find it interesting because you've taken your love of your comic and your love of your band. It's too late at night. What was the band's name again?
Absinthe Junk.
Absinthe.
It's usually too late at night for me too. I can't remember what her name is.
And you've taken that to merge into a wonderful marketing concept and idea with a soundtrack for your comic. I think that's totally awesome.
Yeah, the band. It's funny because the whole reason I even met them is because I made the first soundtrack, Volume Alpha, for Starcross'd, and I started actually writing songs with lyrics. So I was like, oh, this is fun. I should maybe do this for a minute since my hard drive's crashed and I'm so tortured as an artist. So I took a minute and I wrote 15 songs, and I went and found a studio in Nashville, and that's where I met Patrick Himes, who plays guitar, who I literally just spent an entire Sunday afternoon with in his studio in Nashville. It's this big church, gorgeous, cutting tracks for the second volume of the Starcross'd soundtrack. So I've always seen the comic as like a movie in my head, and so I hear all the stuff that goes with it, and it's like, well, why keep that up here? Why not put it down? And I'll never be able to really sync the two up, but I can at least have some sort of accompaniment to it, so people can kind of hear what's going on in my head, which could be bad or could be good. Who never knows.
Well, with the amount of creative people I've talked to over the years, I think characters talking in their heads is kind of like, second nature to everyone then.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because right after the hard drive thing, I still had this great desire to write the book, and the characters were still there, but then after a minute, it just got completely dark and quiet, and I didn't hear their random, really annoying conversations in the back of my head when I was doing my dishes anymore. It was really interesting to go from having them always there making some sassy comment to having absolutely nothing. And that was, it was really one of the catalysts for me going on and doing the band, because it's like, well, I'm not having Shades tell me how terrible my dishes are, so I guess maybe I should find something else to do for a minute instead of forcing it. And then one day they just came back. It was like, okay, a little bit schizophrenic, but cool. Yeah.
It's like, it's about time, guys. Where have you been? I've been waiting,
Right. I actually started writing several other projects because I was like, well, if they're not going to talk to me, well, I'm not going to just sit here. And, so I came up with other characters and tried to do other things. But of course, as soon as they, got back into my life, it was just like, it's like the girlfriend that never shuts up. No, I love it. I'm grateful that everything is back as it should be.
We'll talk about the band then itself, because I think that it's rather interesting, because you talked in the green room a little bit about it, but for those that don't know about Absinthe Junk, what exactly is your band's style and genres, I guess?
People usually put us in alternative rock, which I have a little bit of problem with because alternative doesn't really mean anything anymore. But I like to tell people who come to conventions and meet me at the table and they're like, oh, what is this? I tell them it's like if Garbage and Nightwish had a love child that was raised by Pink Floyd and babysat by Coheed and Cambria. So it's very, very spacey textures, but still heavy, and electronic elements with female vocals, and that ranged from really low Shirley Manson type haunting vocals to the operatic and screaming and ridiculousness of Nightwish and so on. It's very eclectic. to say the very least. I play violin, organ, some rhythm guitar. I do obviously all the lead female vocals, and then I do all the giant symphony orchestration as well. So it's always an ordeal when I have to do anything with ups and downs. We're actually working on our third album right now, and it's like, oh God.
So talk about your. I think you were on tour a couple of months back when I emailed you for the first time. How's that?
That is usually a blur. Usually I don't remember much from it. I haven't been on very many tours as of late. I've recently been hired to join the Pink Floyd Laser Spectacular, which is a giant theater and arena show that has giant full production and visuals behind the band and everything. They just put together a live band, so I've joined that, playing keyboards, saxophones, and female background vocals. And then most of what the touring is these days is going down to New Orleans, yay, where my boss is, even better, and working on the visuals for this project, which they have hired me to do. And so it's really exciting getting to sit around and think about, Pink Floyd, which I love anyway, and go, okay, well, how do I want to draw the wall today? It's like, this is amazing, yay. And so I've been doing a lot of that, and that's been the majority of my touring, is just going back and forth and doing more production type stuff. Hopefully within the next 6 months to a year, they're saying that that band is going to be on the road as well. So that'll be weird, like playing and being on tour and like having this giant video wall behind me of like stuff that I've drawn, and being like, this is really, it's like fourth wall. I can't even handle this.
It's like Floyd inside Floyd type thing. It's just like craziness.
All my favorite things, and a giant like 40-foot video projection screen of my art. This does not even make sense to me. So I'm looking forward to that gig. I think that's going to start happening in January, and I just don't even know where to start with that.
That's crazy. I mean, it's like the ultimate art exhibit, but it's in a concert.
Right? This is what I'm saying. They actually, I don't even know how much of this I'm allowed to talk about. They haven't said that I can't, so whatever. They sent me a little mock-up of I just sent them like a concept art of Pink, and like his fascist, like creepy jacket and his megaphone. And it's just a still concept, and they take it and they put it in with the lasers, and so they'll send me back this thing on YouTube of like lasers happening all over Pink's face, and it's like, what? That's so crazy. It's like I'll sit there for an entire day just like replaying it, like this is nuts. Amazing and silly. But yeah, that's the extent of my touring these days. I haven't gotten to do anything with Junk for a while. They're all like I said, we're writing and doing other stuff. And touring with an indie band is yikes. Very scary. Very, very monetarily foolish. So we don't get to get out as much as we'd like.
That's okay. I mean, the fact that you're still doing it, you're still doing the comic. I mean, and that you're taking on a university or a college degree in itself is, I know exactly what you're going through. So
yeah, it's you never have any quiet time. You never can just sit down and watch Breaking Bad or anything and just chill out for a minute. It's like, no, I got like 500 hours of work to get done in a 40-hour week. Yay! But better to be busy than bored. That's what I say. That's
true. I mean, but you have to take time for yourself as well too.
What do you do? And lucky for me, I'm a workaholic, so taking time for myself involves scoring, giant symphonies or coloring Pink Floyd-related crap or working on, Starcross'd Destinies. That is my time for me. That fills me with great joy. To be like, oh, yay, I have 5 minutes. I'm going to go color a panel. That's a joke. They take 5 hours at least. Yeah. It's good times.
So then when it comes down to it, though, obviously you're able to manage your time fairly well, at least as well as you can, with all of these projects. How have you been able to I think you're preparing your third book for Starcross'd, you said?
Yeah. How to
keep
my time, I guess.
I mean, yeah, you have three major aspects of your life. Well, four with family and all that stuff. I guess you could
Mhm.
add that in too. Um, but you seem to be everywhere at once, and yet you still seem to be able to maintain your level of consistency, I guess you could call it.
It's definitely very hard. I'm to a point in my life and artistically where I get up, I know I have certain things I have to do, like go to calculus for 3 hours and sit there and have my mind just platoed. But, besides that, I usually just, I get up in the day and I'm like, okay, I know I have this much to get done in a week. What do I feel like doing today? Because if I try to force myself to go and say draw 100 keyframes of animation stuff, well, they're not going to look that great, and I'm going to be really jaded by the end of the day because I didn't want to do that. I wanted to write symphony stuff. So really, besides just doing, meeting deadlines and just knowing where those are, I get up and I do whatever I feel like I want to do that day that I'm going to actually have the most productive amount of time doing. And somehow, I'm pretty sure it's wizardry, but it all seems to get done. And I'm able, I've not missed any deadlines, save for the OST, which that's not my fault. It's gotten huge. I can't,
Hmm.
but, I just, I just keep on, keeping on. And luckily it's not made me completely insane, and I haven't messed anything up too much. So I must be in the sweet spot, which means eventually I'm going to fall out, and then I'll probably have to, like, time manage everything to the dot.
I have 3 seconds to reply to your email. Up, time's up.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, crap. God, I only had 3 seconds to reply to an email. Oh, God. Nothing would ever get done. Well, except for the one that I just sent to you that was just like, I am finding a glass of water. That took 3 seconds.
And I didn't even get that, actually. That's kind of funny.
That's why, because I didn't take the extra second to actually hit send. Of course. Yeah.
Everyone usually has that one or two people that kind of set them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
Oh, man. That's tough. Definitely my husband, Michael, because without him, I would have just been in a dark corner, in a straitjacket, in some abandoned bathroom, like they are on the wall, with screaming, or just staring at the TV, catatonically. He definitely gave me the opportunity to change my whole life perspective and move and get out of Texas and just draw comics or make art or whatever. And he's always been incredibly supportive and always very encouraging in whatever I'm doing. So to him for sure. And then this is going to inflate his ego, but I definitely have to say Patrick Himes from Absent Junk, because without him, I would have never thought to write the songs that I'm writing now or do the Starcross'd Destiny soundtrack the way I'm doing it now with all of their help and whatnot. So or be doing any of the Pink Floyd stuff, because he's the whole reason I even joined that whole sort of thing. So he's definitely shaped me a lot as a person. Luckily, I haven't grown a beard like him yet, although I'm working on it.
I can't tell. It's at night, and
Oh,
I
thank
can't.
God.
Well, I mean, I can't grow any facial hair or whatever, so it is what it is. But
I feel your pain. Well, kind of. No, what I do. My next life, I'm gonna come back as like a Viking and have like the most majestic beard ever. This is all my stuff of things to do after this life.
yeah, it'll be Lar de Souza-esque. It'll be just nice and flowing and long and all that other
Dude,
stuff.
yeah, literally. Like, there's actually this video of Absent Junk, and we had this really obnoxious fan blowing because we did it in a basement. There was no AC, and everybody was like dying. So we had this industrial fan blowing, and so my hair is billowing, and it looks ridiculous, and like Vidal Sassoon, 1995. And Patrick, who has this giant beard, just has this billowing beard, golden beard billowing in the wind. It's like this. So, every time I watch that video, I just lose my shit because I see him with beard billowing. Like, this is why we live life, Patrick Himes, billowing beard.
It's the most majestic beard blowing I've ever seen.
Real, dude. I'm telling you, all you kids, you want to see the most majestic beard billowing, blowing thing in the world? Sunday morning breakfast static on the YouTube. You will see it in all of its billowing glory. It's a wonderful thing. It's what we should all live for.
Um, you've been successful from a professional standpoint in terms of your career with comics, with the band, with now with Pink Floyd, with um, and with everything else that you've done in your life. But do you consider yourself personally successful?
At this point, yes. I definitely, within the last year, I've gotten to a point where it used to be I would wake up and be like, I'm going to draw webcomics today, huzzah! And I didn't make money from it necessarily. I just did it because I enjoyed it. And nowadays, I wake up and I'm like, I have to do all these things, and people are paying me to do them. And that doesn't make any sense. And I can go buy groceries this week, and I'm so excited because I can actually buy like name brand cheese. Huzzah! So yeah, I definitely, I'm lucky enough to be traveling and going to conventions again. I was able to print the second book of Starcross'd. In the meantime, I'm getting to do all this incredible stuff, that's related to music that I love, on top of playing music. So, I very often wake up and go, why am I taking Calculus 3? Why am I doing that to myself of all the things? It's like, yeah, I'm to a point where it's like, okay, I'm okay with how things are going for me. I'm sure there's always going to be places to go from here, and hopefully I'll get to a point where I'm making a much more sustainable living. But yeah, I would definitely consider. I've definitely leveled up as far as success is gone. I'm very, very lucky for that. I know that it's mostly, I swear to God, it has nothing to do with hard work. It has everything to do with a lucky break on that. I really do believe it.
Well, then, how do you deal with your failures?
Well, whiskey. But no, I try really hard not to dwell on them, and just, I try to focus on, okay, I did something, what great thing has happened in the last week? Okay, well, I'm going to focus on that, because Lord knows I spent 7 years, especially during the beginning of Starcross'd Destiny's life, focusing on everything that I had done wrong. And you can't move forward, you can't make good art if you sit there and focus on everything you're doing wrong. Take all of these terrible things that have happened to you and the failures and turn them into good art, but by God, don't dwell on them. That's definitely the place in the leveling up that I've gotten to in the last couple of years.
The younger generation, I feel strange asking that, but this is how I've phrased the question everywhere else, so I'm just going to keep going with it. The younger generation is looking upon you as an inspirational person. They're seeing what you're doing in your life now. They're seeing what you've accomplished with the band, with the comic, and with everything else, even Calculus 3, as painful as that is. And they see you as an inspirational person, but how can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Go everywhere that your heart desires. If you wake up in the morning and you want to do something, then do it. I talk to kids at conventions every month, and I always get asked, like, well, how did you make this book? How did you do it? How did you make this record? I was like, you know what? I just got out of bed and I did it. Oh, but my stuff's not good enough. It's not ready yet. It's like, you don't have to wait for that. You don't have to be ready to do anything. You just need to do it, because you will become whatever artist or musician that you want to become. You're only going to become that person by doing it, by practicing it, by making your craft every day. And so I always just tell kids to, stop talking to me about it. Go do it. Next year when I'm back here, I want you to bring me your comic, because we have had this conversation now, and you will go home and you will just start drawing. And it may be terrible, or it may be 10,000 times better than mine. If it is, that is amazing. Go do it. That's the whole point. You know, if you sit around and think about it, it's never going to happen. So definitely, you know, I think luckily the newest generation of kids and teenagers and young adults, which I am not anymore. Oh God. You know, they're lucky in the fact that they have access to so much media now and so many outlets to get their stuff out there. You don't need a publisher anymore. You don't need a record label. You just need a crappy microphone, your guitar, or, you know, a bamboo Wacom tablet that you found in a garage sale, and access to the internet. And you can do whatever you want to do. And if one person reads it, then you're doing a good job. You don't have to have 30,000 readers. You can just have 3. And as long as it makes you happy, then you're doing it right. You know, that's really, at the end of the day, the biggest thing that anybody has to learn is, okay, well, I'm doing this for me, and it makes me happy, which, you know, I was lucky enough a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I finally decided to start doing Starcross'd again. It was because it's like, I miss drawing comics. I don't care. I probably lost my entire readership. It's a bummer, but I just want to draw comics again, you know? So, you know, henceforth, and just do.
Sounds like the title of a song for another album. Go henceforth and do.
Go henceforth and rock.
Yes.
That's probably half of our songs. They're just riddled with metaphors. That's the next one.
Quick, write that down. Metaphors.
Metaphors. That's perfect. I gotta send that to Mookie later. I came up with the best new literary term ever.
And it'll be on the podcast, so you can point him towards this too, so that works out.
Right.
Is there anything that I haven't brought up? Any websites you'd like to share for those that are watching and listening to this that you'd like to go to?
Well, definitely check out the comic. Right at this moment, there's only like 9 days left on it, but I have a pre-order campaign for the new OST, and so there's an opportunity to go ahead and pre-order that on the Starcross'd website. And then, of course, there is Absinthe Junk's website, which most of us can't spell absinthe on our best day. So that website is mypieceofjunk.com. So that's where you can hear the majority of our music and whatnot if it so intrigues you. And probably see, we have a bunch of videos up on there too, so that's all there for your listening and viewing pleasure.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, you know, I hate to say this, Blair, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. It's been a wonderful time having you on the show, and I hope next time we can go a little longer, maybe sometime next year, see what you've been up to.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, not a problem, anytime. And I just want to thank everyone for listening and watching for this particular episode on Two Geeks Talking. Of course, that was with Blair B from the wonderful comic of Starcross'd.net, which is, of course, without the E. It'll be on the website. Just it's just a lot easier. Anyhow, well, tune in next time for another wonderful and talented and creative person on Two Geeks Talking. Of course, you can get this interview on our website, tgtmedia.com. Get it on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/tgtmedia. Our Patreon page, which, you know, support us for $1 a month or $5 a month, whatever you can, you know, help us out with. 600 interviews in almost 700 interviews in 7 years. So we've been here for a little bit, but every dollar helps, and we really appreciate you and your support either way. So thanks everyone for listening, watching, and see you next episode on Two Geeks Talking.